Preparing to live stream. Okay, we're gonna do this. Do this live stream. We're 15 minutes into this session. And traditionally, I don't get a lot of live interaction here. So we're gonna see how this works. Oh, one watching. That's probably me. Got it. Okay, welcome to the Gap Year Option, a quick little training that I was going to take an hour to do. And you know what? It's going to be quicker than that because I'm going to do just a quick live. We're going to maybe go try and do like 20 minutes because life happens and we had some people register and I get it. Life happens. I forgive you. I love you. It's no big deal. Because this is still important information. So I'm still going to give this to you. And I give my best. I give my best for free. And I mean, not the complete picture for free. No, I give my best because it's information that people are looking for. It's information, hopefully, what brought you here is that you are looking for this information and you need it and you want it. And maybe you want to hear it from me. So I have been looking into the gap year because I have some clients who are in this space of wondering what's next, taking a step back, taking a break, taking a breather, figuring it out. So I had somebody yesterday, was it yesterday? But yesterday or the day before say like, are you ever too old for a gap year? Or how old is too old for a gap year? And the response was, well, when you're in a career, say, they call it a sabbatical or something. Yeah, it's a similar concept. It's a taking a step back, taking a break, taking a breather, reevaluating where you are, where you want to go. That's the question number one that I asked. What is a gap year? What is a gap year? And a gap year is that it's that break, right? It's a step back. It's a reevaluation. It's a pulling away or letting go of something that is no longer serving or not. There's some feeling around it not being as effective as it could be. So that is the gap year. Very simple. Simply a year where a student is not in school with the intention of them returning to school at some point. Generally, it's a year. Sometimes it's less. Maybe it's a semester, take a semester off. Maybe it's longer. Maybe it's 2, 3, 4 years before returning to school. And that's kind of the intention behind this training is that without a plan, without taking a break with an end in mind, a reintegration process on the horizon, it can be not very effective. It can actually derail the education or the growth that is required to mature, to launch into the world. And that's why I'm speaking specifically to parents whose son or daughter maybe has said, I don't know if college is the right move for me right now. I really am feeling overwhelmed. I need a break. So there are some fears that come around when we're talking about the gap year. And when I talk about the gap year with parents, because parents, you want your child to go and pursue their dreams and have success in the world. It's a thing, and we all want them to be happy. I totally get it. So if you're watching on the replay, which you probably are because you know it right now. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and drop some of your fears as a parent. Drop a fear around the gap year. Why is it so uncomfortable to think about your kid taking a year off of school, especially if they've already started college and maybe they're having second thoughts? What's coming up for you around that? Yeah, I'm going to pause just because I want to give you the answers right away. I really want you to kind of think about this. Like what's the feeling? Where in the body feeling is in the chest, tightness in the neck, shoulders. I don't know. When that discussion is happening. I'm really blending into my blue background here today. Just noticing that. Um, so some of the things that I hear are, well, I have paid how much money for you to now be bartender or wait tables? We've invested in your education, we've saved for this, and now you want to just throw it all away. Um, a lot of the fear is that they are going to get stuck. They're going to lose motivation. They're going to be stuck in a job like bartending or waiting tables or some other so-called menial part-time job or not real job forever. And can we just be real for a minute? Like, those are real jobs. We need those people. We need servers and we need people in the retail stores and working those sort of cleaner jobs or in the trades or whatever. We need them. So it is a valid option. The other thing is, living at home forever. That's the thing. Like, some of those lower paying jobs, entry level, like starter jobs, they don't pay very well. So you might be worried about your kid crashing in their room forever and never actually launching and getting out into the world and making it on their own. And that is a valid fear. And I want to tell you something. With the young people I talk to, they don't want that either. They don't want to live in your basement or in their old, childhood bedroom forever. They really don't. Even though it is, sometimes we make it easy for them to stay by doing their laundry or picking up after them, not making them take responsibilities or handle their own bills, appointments, or pay rent. So something to consider. Set that on the shelf for later. We'll talk about that later. So there are many different types of gap year experiences that you and your children can look for, create, and invest in. Gap year volunteering programs, mentoring programs, travel, internships. What else? We've got work and job shadowing. So sometimes the agreements between parents and students is, well, if you're not going to school, you must work X number of hours, or you must be looking for XYZ type of job, or whatever the agreements are that work for your family. Another option is actually, I get kind of excited by this one, is the exploration of entrepreneurship. There are some business programs and entrepreneurial programs in my area, maybe in your area too. So it's worth exploring or getting connected with a group of business owners or entrepreneurs, some sort of incubator that maybe can help them spark that idea to life and actually see if they can make it go as a business owner or entrepreneur. So that's also an option that may or may not require them going back to school for that. And they may find they really love owning a business, so they want to go back to school for management or a business degree instead of maybe something they started with. So, So who's a gap year for? That's the next question. So, right, this title of this training is, what is a gap year? Covered that. Who's it for? It is for a lot of different types of students. Mainly, let's talk about the slacker, the one who's actually brilliant and just doesn't like to do the work of school. So a gap year is a great mental breathing space for the one who just has always resisted turning things in, doing the work of school, because again, it gives them opportunity to be out in the real world and actually see what's required when it comes to being on the job, working full time, paying bills, all those things. And it can be really effective for giving that slacker some perspective. Another student who could benefit is the one who is just burnt out. They've been high achieving for 12 plus years in school and they just are done. They've worked really hard. They do what they need to do when they always have. They've had the successes behind them to prove it, but they are just mentally fried. And you can tell that in a couple of different ways. There's some signals and signs with that. The independent learner is a great candidate for a gap year because they can kind of create their own real world curriculum. The overworked high achiever, again, this might not be one that becomes that chooses it intentionally. What they keep going into college and then take on too big of a course load or become a little too ambitious and find that they falter and fail and get really hard on themselves and on themselves. So a time of self-reflection, reevaluation can be a really great opportunity for those students as well. And of course, you should go back to kind of the slacker way, the one who's kind of going through the motion student like that. I'll show up, I'll do the thing, I'll do what I'm told and do what I'm supposed to, but there really isn't that spark of connection with finding meaning with what they actually want to do in the whatever college program or even general ed program that they feel like they should go into. So it's the going through the motion student who's just not really engaged. There's no fire. There's no meaning or purpose in their choices. They just can't see how it's going to get them where they want to go because they kind of don't even know where they want to go. So that's my little list of students who may benefit from a gap year. So who that's for. Now, I have talked to a number of people who have successfully chosen a gap year, returned to school, and it made a big impact on them. In fact, I was just talking to somebody yesterday who was really felt that fear as the year progressed, that fear that if he didn't return in some capacity to school, he never would. So he took the steps he needed to take to return to school. This was years ago, but you get the point. So the gap year really does give these students that I mentioned the opportunity to explore those real world experiences, get connected with their interests and get all that aligned and, gain some experience with people who know, people who can help them out there and mentor them, which will help them develop new skills and practical skills and build the experience as well as gain the confidence to make those empowered decisions when they go back to school. So that moves right into how a gap year does benefit student success. I think specifically about that going through the motion student and the burnt out student, where the burnt out high achiever is generally one who's continually seeking external validation and motivation. That I need to get the A, I need to please the professor, I need to please my parents. That student puts a lot of pressure on themselves to perform at a really, really high level and burns themselves out because they're not internally connected to what they're doing, which is similar to the sort of slacker or going through the motion student who, again, not really sure why they're doing the things. It's just because somebody told them to do it. So they do it until they just can't bring themselves to care anymore and kind of stop going to class and stop making any sort of effort. So that for those two students, taking that time and space to reflect, and even for the other ones I listed, which are all maybe variations of those two, you get a chance in a gap year to step back, reflect. What do I really want? Why do I want it? Who do I have to be to get there? And then what's my plan? What do I have to do? And that is really important, especially if you're looking for, if your student is considering a gap year. We'll say it this way. Look for a program or a mentor, a coach, who can help them assess where they are, who they are, what they want, and give them some accountability to get themselves to create that plan forward and be able to make decisions in the moment when things shift. So that's something I do with my clients. It's something a lot of, there's not a ton of gap year programs out there, but there are some. And so that is really a lot of the intention behind those programs, which that gives them that time and space for that personal reflection and growth, getting the maturity caught up to the whole adulting level, and their experiences that they have talking with new people or working in the community. It helps them. It's going to help and add depth to the academic part of things once they do return to school, if that's their choice. So that is really powerful, because that connection, connecting the dots between the real world and the kind of adulting experience they want to the process of getting there, helps them find that intrinsic motivation instead of just looking for that next dopamine hit of the next A or the next gold star or whatever. I know they don't give gold stars in college, but you know what I mean, like the high score or the dean's list or whatever. Because ultimately what we want is a world full of people who are motivated by passion and purpose, by what's inside of them, right? Those people make phenomenal business owners. They make phenomenal staff members. They make phenomenal team members. They make phenomenal philanthropists and givers in our community. So we want them to be connected to what they're doing. So that is, I think, the most profound benefit of a gap year, is it gives that time and space to pull back, to really self-evaluate and connect those dots between what's in here in the heart and what their gifts can do out in the world. Okay, let's see. I'm checking my notes here because I wanted to cover in the last piece of the success. How does a gap year benefit them? They will end up in schools and connected to programs that really do excite them. So their academic performance will improve because they are internally motivated, which is that's kind of cool. So last, to wind down, I wrap up. I don't know. I'm just talking. Gap year greatness does not just happen. I know I talk fast, so if you're following along, what's a gap year? It's a break. Could be a semester, could be more than a year, but essentially gap year, break from school, whether it's right after high school graduation or sometime mid-college career. Gap years are a thing. Sometimes we intentionally choose them. Sometimes we end up not doing so great in school, and our university chooses for us. So regardless of which path your child may be on, gap year greatness does not just happen. And that's why those fears are real, the fears that you have. It is, I got a text message totally, why did I look at it? Gap year greatness does not just happen. It is, no matter how you end up in the gap year, it's important to set expectations around the time off from school, especially parents, if your son or daughter is going to be living in your home. Okay, living at home. It's a big deal, and there needs to be clear expectations around that. And that's why I was talking about the fears. That's why the fears they're very realistic, and they're very possible that those things can happen. They get stuck, they get derailed, they lose momentum, they don't go back to school, they end up eating all your food, and you end up folding their underwear for eternity. Like it's real, because it happens, because most families do not go into a gap year having really put any intention around it. It's not their fault. There's just not a lot of resources out there. I mean, there's more than there used to be. And I think we can do better. So set clear expectations, so that we don't lose momentum, get stuck, end up with deflated self-esteem, or that fear of missing out when all their friends are in college and having that college experience and they're not. With clear expectations and clear intentions, they can actually feel confident in that choice that they make, or, even if it was made for them, they can feel confident in where they are when they see and start to compare what their friends are doing. Without the intentional planning, the gap year can last longer than you expect. It can derail the ambition. And without the clear communication, parents, between you and your children, families can fight, feel frustrated, get really angry at each other. You can really break all of the bonds that you've spent the last 18, 19, 20 some years building with your children. And so we do not want that to happen. Especially, like I said, if your student is living at home. Now, I do have a coaching offer, and since I don't actually have face-to-face interaction on this live, I'll tell you about it. But really what I would love for you to do is get in touch with me. You maybe registered for this webinar and couldn't make it live. Cool. I still want to talk, because I do want to tell you what I do in my program specifically for students who are looking at a gap year or who are in the thick of it. It's called the Gap Year Game Plan, and it does all the things that I just talked about. It sets the intentions, the expectations, helps with the communication, and comes up with the plan. And that's not my plan. It's your student's plan. So again, they have that internal connection, that motivation to execute the steps of that plan for themselves, taking ownership, becoming independent, and being really confident in the decisions they make about their future going forward. If you want to talk to me about that, please set up a call with me. All right, just go to my website, sarahdeacon.com. My contact info is all over the place over there. Just visit the website, send me a message, send me an email. We'll connect, and we'll just have a conversation, because I would love to talk about that. How to connect them with their passion and purpose, how to help them learn to discern and self-evaluate their choices, and set intentional expectations for themselves that work, so that they can create their own simple and effective action plan to move forward into their future. So your student will know exactly who they are, what they really want, and how to create a plan for themselves that works. That's what I've got in my notes. Please drop your questions, comments, or tell me how nice I look today in the comments. And I'm not hard to find. Please visit sarahdeacon.com/hello to set up your Spark session to ignite your students' future success with me at my website, sarahdeacon.com/hello. You can just visit there, set up the session, and we'll chat, and it'll be great, and it'll be awesome. And and I'm going to offer this again. I'm thinking next time we go in person, I'll make slides and everything. It'll be great. I don't know. We'll see. So if you have any questions or comments, please, if you're watching the replay, put your questions in the chat. I would love to answer them. Some of the questions that come up are around what if your student does not resist the opportunity of enrolling in some sort of gap year program, whether it's mine or someone else's. That struggle is real, and that comes down to communication, being intentional about what you say, when you say it, reading the room, knowing when to approach that conversation. Another common question I get is, flew out of my brain right now, is, can I guarantee, what can I do to make sure that my child does return to school? And that's a tough one, because there are ways that you can nudge them in the right direction. Ultimately, though, you have to understand it's their choice and it is their future. You get to be responsible for yourself in the situation, and shift into this role of being an encourager, a cheerleader, a guide, instead of the manager and deliverer of the rules. So overlord, I don't know what the word is. You get to shift into this supportive role where you start to have to really sit with where you are coming from and why it's so important for you that they go to college, and really start to be open. And if you need support having those conversations, I definitely have tools. Shoot me an email, connect with me through my website, and we'll talk about that. So yeah, definitely, you're invited to connect with me, have a one-on-one where we can talk about your specific concerns with your student around this gap year opportunity. I just learned last week that October is gap year exploration month. And so this is the end of October. So I'm like, I gotta get this one in right at the end of the wire. But I think there's no bad time to explore the option of a gap year. Doesn't mean you have to take one, or doesn't mean your student has to take one, right? Know the information, and then you get to choose what you do with that. So if you need more information, I am here. Please reach out to me, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye. Have a great day.